coach always says, like, offense is going to come and go. Defense is what's going to win you games and eventually championships. So defense has been the biggest thing we've done this whole week.
Julian Champagnie is repeating what Spurs fans already know, right? Coach Pop is all about defense on preseason game day. Wemby and the Spurs held shoot-around this morning in Oklahoma City ahead of their preseason opener with the Thunder tonight. It's one of 5 warm-up games for the Silver and Black before the regular season begins on October the 25th at home with the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the preseason usually brings some type of hype, but not the kind of attention the Spurs are getting these days. Basketball fans want to see Victor Wembanyama play. That means there's a lot of interest in the Spurs game at OKC tonight.
That's big time. I mean, I think it's just going to go to show, obviously, the Wemby effect and, you know, the fact of how much excitement is in San Antonio. We're all ready for it. We're excited. We all been putting in the work, and we're just ready to show everybody. No, I mean, 100%. I mean, not oblivious to it. The good thing is that all of us are staying grounded. Nobody's feeling too high or too low. I mean, he's the most humble guy, truthfully, so he doesn't let none of it affect him. And at the end of the day, we got to make the game easier for him and this stuff easier for him because he's just now, you know, getting into the league. He's his first time experiencing all this stuff, so we got to help him out.
For second-year forward Julian Champagnie, tonight is another chance for him to learn his teammates and to figure out his role with the Spurs.
Yeah, I think just creating chemistry with the team, finding where I fit in, where I don't fit in, and kind of just gauging that crowd and just seeing how I could insert myself in a rotation.
Spurs and Thunder will play ball tonight at 7 on NBA TV, and you can catch those highlights on the Nightbeat. It is time to check in with the Reagan Rattlers before they take on the Johnson Jaguars Friday night in our game of the week. Now, we heard from Johnson at 5, so it's time to chat with the Rattlers ahead of this District 28 6A matchup. Reagan is 6-0 this season, 4-0 in district. They're number 2 in 12's top 12 Class 6A 5A rankings, while Johnson is number 3. They both have the same record, meaning they're both tied for first place. But Friday night, that will all change when one of these schools walks away with a hard-fought win.
For us, our kind of thing is just we gotta just focus on ourselves, really, and you know we're aware that they're one of the best teams in San Antonio, and then we're a pretty good team ourselves. But it's for us when we play a team at this caliber, we almost see it like we almost accept the challenge. We want games like this, and we want to be able to face off against some of the best talent in San Antonio and around the area because it gives us a good look to see how good we are.
As Coach Ham says, it's our biggest one because it's our next one. We're not. Just because it's Johnson, we're not thinking anything else. It's our next game, so we got to go out there and handle our business.
It's definitely one of the bigger games in San Antonio this week. I'm sure there'll be big games down the road, but every week it's the biggest game of the year just because both these teams are undefeated coming into this one, and I'm sure that both communities are ready to see it, and it'll be a fun Friday night.
That is true. The Johnson Jaguars versus the Reagan Rattlers is our big game this week. It all goes down Friday night, 7:30 at Hero Stadium, and it's one of 15 games we'll have on the schedule for you Friday night.
Another busy Friday night.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Thanks, Larry.
Our KSAT Q&A is up next. Watching what has unfolded the last couple of days in Israel with surprise attacks, kidnappings, and killings has been very hard to digest and hard to understand, especially a history so deep and rich in that part of the world. Today, we are joined by Dr. Susan Chiavosi. She is a professor of international affairs at Trinity University who was kind enough to share some time with us here this evening for our Q&A. Give us some historical perspective on this. Doctor, thanks for being here, first of all. I want to talk about who the major players are in this conflict. We have Israel, we have Hamas. Can you explain what is Hamas?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Hamas is it started as a resistance movement, and it was an offshoot of Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt. It declared existence in, I think it was 1987, and then took control over Gaza after the election in 2009, I think. And so at the moment, it is basically a governing body in Gaza, and it has two wing, if you like. One is it provides all the social services and schools, health, etc. And then it has a military wing. It functioned more or less like a governing body of Gaza. Gaza was more or less like West Bank, but there were settlements there, but Israel decided to take all the settlement out, and Gaza, however, was never an independent entity because it was blockaded by both Israel from the north and Egypt from the south. So, according to some human rights group and some Palestinian, it's an open door or open air prison in some ways because they're at the mercy of Israel and Egypt.
This area sorry, Professor, this area has a very long history of conflict, of violence there. What do we know about what sparked what happened this weekend? What was the tipping point that led to this today, and what is different about this one?
Why it happened now? I would say there are two reasons. One is short-term reason, and that has to do with the election of a hardline Israeli government that added to the settlement. For example, according to the High Commissioner of Human Rights in United Nations Human Rights, the number of settlers in West Bank, not in Gaza, because we don't have settlers in Gaza, but in West Bank and Jerusalem, it amounted to 700,000 illegal settlers, and that was an increase of 34% since 2021. So you can see that there was this increase, and that created tremendous amount of anger among the Palestinian and the government or the Palestinian Authority in West Bank was less inclined to address this, and so Hamas found this moment as anger of Palestinian increased to attack Israel. But of course, this required months of planning. It's not something that happened all of a sudden, which take us to another interesting point that has been raised by both Israelis and the world in some ways, and that was the failure of Israeli intelligence to know this, because Israel always predicted or knew, have a very good intelligence service within Gaza and in the West Bank and other areas of Middle East, including Iran. But in this particular incidents, this was an unprecedented in terms of its scale of attack and a surprising attack on Israel with high casualty.
Can you talk a little bit about sort of the functionality between Gaza and Israel? You talked about the blockade that exists there. And I believe a stat that a lot of people are seeing in the reporting about this is sort of the high concentration of people in Gaza. 140 some square miles, home to 2 million people in such a small space. Yeah. Many of them travel back and forth, though, correct, to Israel to work.
I think there are about 17,000 who have, if I'm not mistaken, work permit. They go daily and they come back after work. But to tell you, to give you a sense about the lack of autonomy is that, for example, after this attack, which was, as I said, it was unprecedented in its scale, Israel cut off water, electricity, and to the whole Gaza. So that tells you something about how much control Gaza has on its destiny, so to speak. So. Yes, there have been people in Gaza who have had work permit. They go daily. They used to. I suppose now it's the borders are closed, but the rest of the population are basically have no permit to go anywhere. And that is also true of Egyptian. They don't allow Gazan to go anywhere.
Dr. Susan Siavoshi, I know there's so much more for us to dive in on this subject and this history, but I appreciate you spending some time with us, giving us that context.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. We'll be right back.
Developing now, former Texas Congressman Will Hurd says he is dropping out of the 2024 presidential race. The Republican posted a statement to X, formerly known as Twitter, a little over an hour ago. It says in part, quote, "It has become clear to me and my team that the time has come to suspend our campaign. While I appreciate all the time and energy our supporters have given, it is important to recognize the realities of the political landscape and the need to consolidate our party around one person to defeat both Donald Trump and President Biden," end quote. Hurd went on to endorse Nikki Haley for the GOP nomination. We'll have more on Hurd's decision a little bit later tonight on the Nightbeat.
We are in the thick of allergy season here in San Antonio, which for the most part is 12 months of the year for a lot of people. But across the country, it is the 6th leading cause of sickness.
And if you're tired of the same old nasal sprays and herbal remedies, Ursula Perry has a new approach being developed now to eliminate allergies altogether.
It's ragweed season. Coughing, sneezing, difficulty breathing, all signs and symptoms you have allergies.
We are exposed to allergens. We mount a specific kind of immune response. It's called a type 2 response.
A professor and his team at the University of Central Florida are looking into redefining allergy treatment. They're using a technique that's called LRC triceps, which identifies the cell receptor for common allergens. The research demonstrated the allergen and a common receptor, LMAN1, binding together to inhibit the allergic reaction. This discovery is groundbreaking.
We have the potential to potentially, modify the disease course, or there's a potential for it to have a greater effect than just trying to basically suppress the symptoms.
This new discovery can lead to new therapies to stop allergies before they even start. Your best medicine right now is to get away from those allergens, which is hard to do when you're talking about ragweed. So you need to dust and clean as often as possible, change your air filter every 2 to 3 months, but also wash your hands to get those allergens off of there so you don't end up irritating your eyes worse than they already are. And it's also a good idea to take a shower every night to rinse all of that ragweed off your body before you sleep. Ursula Perry, KSAT12 News.
As far as the way the air feels out there, this is what we have been waiting for, Adam. So how long is it going to last?
A better question, how long are we going to all react to feeling like the heat's going to hit us every time we walk out the door and brace for it?
So it's going to be gradual because tomorrow we're actually going to have what's higher humidity but lower temperatures, right? And then the humidity is going to spike for most of the week and then drop off again for the weekend. And we've got temperatures that'll be fluctuating along with, we also have some temperature swings and good rain chances. We're going to talk about that in just a bit.
Okay, some welcome changes over the weekend, but of course it's South Texas. We've got more of those to talk about. Adam Caskey.
Especially this time of year, and we're in a trend now where it looks like we'll have another cold front headed our way by Friday, but between now and then, some noticeable changes to talk about. Rising humidity tonight. Tomorrow's going to be the muggy day, but temperatures on the low end. Turning damp tomorrow. That does include rain, but I don't want you to get the idea that it's going to be lightning, thunder, and heavy rain. Just overall dampness with some light rain coming and going. Then the Friday cold front causing another temperature swing. Here's a look at that temperature swing. Tomorrow, because of the clouds and the dampness and a little bit of rain, 73 degrees for the high. Then by Wednesday, we start to clear out a little bit, up to 80. Thursday, near 90, and then temperatures fall back off again with that Friday cold front. Mid-80s Friday, then mid-70s for a high on Saturday. So you see that up and down temperature roller coaster. Here's our time lapse, and you see the clouds increasing aloft. They're moving in. They're coming in from the southwest, basically Pacific moisture moving over Mexico, headed our way. This is what we have streaming in right now. It's all that Pacific moisture that's leading to the influx of clouds above us right now, but also the Gulf moisture is going to be increasing with this southeasterly wind tonight. So we'll have that higher humidity here at the ground and higher humidity above us, which will saturate our air and we'll be able to squeeze some of it out throughout the day tomorrow. Here's a look at a futurecast. It's not exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, but a decent visual representation of what we can expect. Tomorrow morning, low clouds, near 70 degrees, generally not much in terms of rain. Once we get to the afternoon hours, that's when the light rain will become a little more widespread. We'll see more pockets of that light and even some moderate rain. And by tomorrow afternoon and evening, I think the drizzle becomes more common as well, especially by sunset tomorrow. Drizzle is going to be pretty widespread and predominant, but not adding up to a whole lot. That's why I'm just using that term damp for most of the day tomorrow, because it's not going to lead to a very high accumulations like we see with thunderstorms. And then even through tomorrow night, drizzly dampness with some areas of light rain. Rain chances at 60% tomorrow and tomorrow night. Wednesday morning, some of that activity lingering at 30%, but then we're dry, so it's nice that we get an opportunity here tomorrow. I think we'd be lucky to get up to half an inch here in San Antonio. Generally, a quarter to half an inch is, I think, more reasonable in terms of expectations tomorrow, but we're not talking about those bullseyes of 1 to 2, 3 inches because of downpours. Just not that kind of setup, but hey, better than nothing. 78, our current temperature, dew point of 56. Dew points, as I mentioned, they're going to be rising tonight and then fall off again as we get into Friday afternoon and through the weekend. So another good timing, another cold front with good timing when it comes to planning your Friday night and your weekend. Tomorrow, notice those rain chances at 20% 7 a.m. By noon, 40%. 5 p.m. we're up to 60%, and that's where we stay through tomorrow night. Temperatures don't change much throughout the day. 68 at sunrise, 70 at noon, 73 degrees for the high temperature. So cooler, however, noticeable humidity is going to be back in the air. Comfort only 71 tomorrow. Divine 71, Floresville, Nixon, Smiley 75. We clear out quite a bit on Thursday after some morning fog. That boosts us up to near 90. Friday still mid-80s as the front moves through midday Friday, sweeping away the humidity for Friday afternoon. And notice Saturday for the solar eclipse, which peaks here in San Antonio starting at 11:52 a.m. Clear sky, good, ideal viewing with the appropriate protective eyewear, not sunglasses, not the naked eye. You need the special eclipse glasses or viewers, and that is for Saturday. 75 degrees, low humidity, good viewing. We have a lot more on KSAT.com and how you can view that eclipse on KSAT.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. The Buzz is coming up next. In the Buzz today, Amazon's new space-based broadband network launched the first 2 prototype satellites. They are aboard a rocket that took off from Cape Canaveral, Florida. Amazon hopes to build massive constellations of more than 3,200 satellites to offer internet connectivity all across the globe.
More space junk, some would say. This will put the tech company in direct competition with SpaceX and its Starlink system. SpaceX has more than 4,500 active Starlink satellites in orbit and offers service to most of the Americas, Europe, and Australia. Canada's most well-preserved Triceratops skull is now on display for all to see, and there it is. The 69-million-year-old fossil was dubbed Callie and was found in Alberta back in 2014.
Now, after unearthing, it took the Royal Tyrrell Museum 7 years of restoration, 6,500 hours of work to get Callie ready for the big day. The museum says this is the largest skull it has ever assembled.
It's a big puzzle.
Yeah, something very new and very old in the Buzz today. We'll be right back.
I mentioned it earlier. We're going to have a good viewing situation for the solar eclipse coming on Saturday morning. And it really peaks around town around 11:52 a.m. You do need protective eyewear, but this is going to be unique. We'll talk more about it the rest of this week. And we have it at KSAT.com.
Thanks, Adam. And thanks for watching.